good morning, everyone. I love the energy. You all sound very excited and happy to be here. Wonderful, wonderful. I'm also very happy to be here. All the way from East London in the Eastern Cape, Emonti. Yes, I'm a research consultant, but recently I've started a non-profit organization called Future Me, and that's me over there. I take grade 9 learners to different workplaces and industries so they can see different careers and see people at work, so they can learn what other industries there are, what other careers there are, so they can future-proof their careers. So that's me taking a group of students here to the Transnet Port Authority in East London, so they can learn about careers in the marine industry, the ocean economy, they can learn about logistics, they can learn about import and export, and how our economy is driven by those industries. Behind there in the picture, there's a tugboat. So there was a captain telling us what a tugboat does in a harbor, in a port, and how you learn to be a tugboat pilot and stuff like that. So my organization works with youth and learners from Tanzania, from Scenery Park, from KwaZulu-Natal, and different townships and rural areas around East London to show people different kinds of careers while they're still young. The other picture here on the right, where we're wearing green, I took students from Zwelicha to a civil engineering site, and this was to show them how to build a bridge. We went to some engineers who are building 3 bridges around Zwelicha. It's a big, major road construction project around the city. So I took 2 schools there with me to that project so they could learn how to build a bridge. Why you must study science, so you can understand pressure and force and gravity, and why it's important to study science and pure maths. So when you go to grade 10, 11, 12, you can then work in those kind of industries. You need to have pure maths to work in the ocean economy for many of the engineering jobs, because those ships, when they go overseas, they have mechanical engineers in that ship. They've got electrical engineers in the ship, because someone must fix electricity. Someone must fix the engine. Just like a car, you need people to fix it. So engineers work on those ships as they travel with goods from South Africa to Spain, or to export South African products to Australia, all those things. Anyway, that's what I do besides being a research consultant. I'm also the chairperson of council at the University of Fort Hare. So I wear many hats. I'm also a trustee of the Sanlam Foundation, and the foundation gives a lot of money to schools for programs for after-school maths and science and other programs that Sanlam gives money to, not Sasol. But I also used to serve on the board of the Sasol Inzalo BEE scheme for 10 years. I was one of the directors of the Sasol Inzalo empowerment scheme. So there's also that going on. But today, I'm here to talk to you about what we can learn from Japan and innovation in Japan. Anyone here who's ever been to Japan? You've been, wonderful. You've been to Japan. When was that? I can't hear you. Yes, wonderful, wonderful. We'll talk about how you got there and what you learned. I'm very happy. Okay, so this is about just how we can learn from Japan, which is one of the leading countries in terms of innovation. And I also have been to Japan, but I went to Japan 30 years ago, in 1992. So I'm giving away my age here. But it's still a very exciting country to visit and to follow online and to see what they do. Very quickly, we're going to talk about Japan just to locate it where it is and why I'm talking about Japan today, innovation in Japan, and then innovations from South African high school students. There are South African high school students who already have innovations in the market, as well as innovations from Japan. Because we are a high school audience, we must talk about what people in high school are doing. So there's Japan, and there's South Africa. You see where South Africa is, right? Do you see how far Japan is? And you see it's just only an island. It's a small island, but it's one of the most developed countries in the world. It takes about 16 hours to travel by air from South Africa to Japan if you're going to fly like a bird, a straight flight. But normally, if you are flying, you go from South Africa, you connect up in Hong Kong or Dubai, and then to Japan. But if you have to fly straight, it's about 16 hours by plane, and it's about 14,000 kilometers from South Africa. So it's very far from us. But that part of the world is called Southeast Asia. So it's in Southeast Asia. Very briefly, just so you understand the size and scale of the population, it has 123 million people. South Africa only has about 60 million people, so it's twice the size of South Africa. But this size is going down because in 2013, 13 years ago, there were even more people. There were 127 million people. So the size of the population is getting smaller. However, the people in Japan live the longest in the world. Did you know that? The average age in Japan is people live to be 82 years old, which means that there are many Japanese who are more than 100 years old, who are also more than 90 years old, because of the advancement in medical care and medical technology, because of their diet. They don't eat musho and pap. They eat a lean, balanced diet with seafood and vegetables and very healthy food. So they live very long lives. So we have a lot to learn from them about healthcare, about longevity and things like that. And Japan has got the 12th largest population in the world. Even though they're very economically advanced and technologically advanced and they innovate and have new things, they have very low unemployment. There's only about 2% unemployment in Japan. So in other words, it looks to me that the more you innovate and the more you make new things, the more jobs you create and the less unemployment there is. You know that South Africa has got the highest unemployment rate in the world, right? About 30%. Some figures put it at 35%. So our country has got the highest unemployment rate. Perhaps we must think more seriously about innovations. How do we innovate and create new jobs and create more opportunities for people to work, just like Japan? They are the most developed country and they've got the lowest unemployment. So we must not think that innovation is going to take away jobs. Computers and innovation and artificial intelligence creates more jobs and reduces unemployment. So we must start thinking like that. Just so why Japan, very quickly, Japan is the number one ranking country in the world in terms of economic complexity index. And I have a definition there so you know what that is. The economic complexity index measures the knowledge accumulated in the population, and that is expressed in the economic activities in the region. So it measures how much people know and how they translate that into economic activity. Japan is number one in the world, more than America, more than China. So the people then know a lot, and they use that to create economic opportunities and products, and so their economy is very active. Also, it's therefore not surprising that 47 out of 500 companies in the Fortune Global 500 companies are from Japan. That's almost 10% of the world's biggest 500 companies are from Japan. Did you see how small that island is? So that small island has got 10% of the world's biggest companies because of innovation. They don't have much land to grow food. They don't have gold and minerals and diamonds. So they use their brains to create and innovate and manufacture to grow the economy such that 10% of the largest companies in the world are from that small island. So we as South Africans must think about how do we also use our brains to start manufacturing and making new things and creating new economies so that we can create jobs and grow our economy and have some of the big companies amongst the world. Japan has got the third largest developed economy in terms of GDP, gross domestic product. They also have got the third largest in terms of total wealth. So they're a very big economy, second only to America and China. We're talking about a very big economy here. Lots of people, but also very innovative. They also are the world's fourth largest consumer market. So they buy a lot because there are so many. but they also create and export a lot. So they're the fourth largest economy in terms of export in the world. They create and export, but they also buy. They buy a lot. So South Africans can think about what can we sell to Japan if there are so many of them and they're buying so much from other countries. There's a market out there for us to explore. And they are also very politically involved with other big developed countries, member of the G7, which is a group of 7 countries, including Canada and France and Germany, and also the group of 20 countries, some of the 20 largest, biggest economies, including countries in the European Union. So they're a very big economic player. That's why I thought we should just look at them. Often we talk about America and we talk about China, and we don't realize just how big and innovative and what a leader Japan is in innovation. They have, for example, this is just one other fact, Japan has got more patents than China. They have more patents than China. And if you think China is developed, it means Japan has even got more innovations, more original innovations than China. And you know how everything is made in China? Have you seen how everything that you buy says made in China? Now imagine a country with more innovations for original work than China. So it's a very, very strong economy, lots of innovation. Some of the things that make Japan so innovative. What are some of the factors that would make Japan so innovative? I just have a few here. The geography in Japan. They are an island. They are away from mainland China. They are close, but they are away from South and North Korea. They are close, but away from Russia. Those are the countries around Japan. South Korea, North Korea, China, which is a huge market with 1 billion people, and Russia, also a very huge part of Asia. So being an island, then there's opportunity to trade with all these countries and make goods they can sell to 1 billion people in China, make goods they can sell to people in South Korea, and so they have access to these big international markets. But because they're also an island, they had to learn to innovate for themselves. If you're in an island, you can't be flying each time you want something. You must figure out how to make it here. So then they started being innovative and creative to solve their own problems as an island because they're isolated from other countries. So it works both ways. They had to find ways to make things work for themselves. And infrastructure, so they've got roads, trains, that's railways that they need to move from place to place to link economies between cities and regions and things like that. And they invest in human capital. That means they invest in their people. They give people very good education. They encourage innovation and research in their country, development of new products. They invest in healthcare so people can live long lives. And so they innovate and create ways to improve the healthcare system, robotics, artificial intelligence, and all of that is part of it. They invest in the social welfare system, so no one falls between the cracks. Everybody is taken care of. They also have a very strong work ethic. They take their job seriously. They value their culture and who they are. So we have a lot to learn from Japan in terms of that. And we do have challenges in South Africa. I mean, we can always talk about how we're colonized. We can talk about how we were oppressed during apartheid. But it's now 30 years on, and we have to develop a culture and a way of seeing ourselves and our identity that is positive and allows us to engage with people around us, to innovate and create, and to engage with economies around us. So for the most part, the Japanese economy focused on manufacturing cars. This was the biggest thing. There are many cars I mentioned there, Toyota, Suzuki, Subaru, Mazda. So they're focused on steel for cars, tools for engineering, but also very high-tech goods and precision. You know, if you're manufacturing a car, everything must work just right. The electronics, when you press the button, the window must close, the window must open. And I think it is because of that base and that economy that they were able to use all those skills from hybrids, from technotronics, to then be able to innovate and use artificial intelligence and robotics and augmented reality and virtual reality because they'd harnessed that from making cars. And that skill then sort of rippled into other parts of the economy, other innovations. I just show a few there, how they can use robotics in the classroom for learning and teaching, robotics for tutoring, for platforms that are interactive. They use, we saw here a drone, but here this is a big machine that waters, agricultural machine. Again, it's robotics, artificial intelligence. It is timed. It knows when to water, how much to water. So that helps them to save their resources, how to save water using solar, and how to use and maximize the resources you have. So don't waste your water. And yet you enhance your crops so that you've got very good crops. And they use it also for on the top left there, top right slide, no, it's top left, that side. The trains, transport system, fast speed rails. Japan is well known for its fast trains, but they keep designing them and changing the design, more glass so you can take on the view. You are not in the train and feel cramped and bored. The seats are facing each other or they're facing outside, so they can swivel and you can chat with your friends, but you can look away and enjoy the view for tourists as well, just to de-stress and not be anxious while they're traveling as a commuter. These are just some of the things in which they are constantly showing innovation. Now let's just talk quickly about some of the innovations from the schools in Japan. Just very quickly, there's a whole range of them. But there's a device that detects the presence of landmines using sound waves. Landmines are sort of bombs that are in the ground that were left during the Second World War. And if they do blast, they can injure people, they can chop off their legs and their arms, and people become handicapped. So it's still a real and present danger in their country. So high school students have designed a device that can detect them so they can be removed and keep people safe. High school students have designed a wearable device, like in the picture, that detects color and sound for people who are blind or visually impaired. So this thing can help you see, can tell you or help you show if there's something around you. These are things that if you have an aging population, people are getting older and they live longer and they lose their sight because they're getting old. They even have canes that detect sound and distance and can tell people where they are. The high school students have designed an app that detects depression and suicidal thoughts. Now, South Africa has got the highest rate of suicide in the world. Did you know that? We have the highest rate of suicide in the world. So we should have been the ones to design that app first, right? Because it's a problem that we have in South Africa. 23 people commit suicide out of every 100,000 people. And that is way too much. That is more than other countries. So it's a real problem we have. And a high school student, a group of them, have designed an app that we could use in South Africa that detects depression and suicidal thoughts, looking at facial images and frequency of the speech and voice and other data that they analyze to do stuff like that. And it means that in Japan, they are able to commercialize, to take those ideas to the market quickly and commercialize and sell them. So that's something we can learn from Japan, that you must innovate, but also take to the market. South African students also do have innovations, just to encourage you. So when you go back to your school, you can think about what can you design to solve problems in your own homes, in your own schools, in your own communities. There's an app called Women that promotes gender equality and acceptance of gender diversity. We know in our country that it's a problem. There's rape, there's women abuse, there's all kinds of gender imbalances. Men are paid more than women for the same job. So for us, it's a real challenge in South Africa. So this app is helping us address one of our local problems. It's a solution to help people understand the importance of gender equality and gender diversity. South African students also have designed an app called Hope Away from Home that enables small food donations in one's own neighborhood. Because we know there's inequality. Some people are very poor. They go to bed without food. That is a real challenge in our country. So this app allows people to donate food to people who need food in their own communities who may not have any food. So again, this shows how it's important to innovate for your own economy. South African students have designed an app that offers physical workouts and healthy eating diet plans to enable people in under-resourced communities to benefit from healthy body and mind education and support. If you are poor, it doesn't mean that you have to be fat and obese and die from diabetes and heart disease. You can be poor, but if you learn what food to eat, how to become active, how to reduce illness, then you get a better life, longer life, better quality of life, and you can do more, right? So in our country, people die from diabetes and high blood pressure, mostly because of poor diet, because they don't have money to buy, or they think they don't have money to buy vegetables. But actually, it's very cheap to grow your own vegetables. So this app, designed by South African students, addresses some of those challenges. And there are many other apps. You can Google them. You can Google apps designed by South African high school students, and you can Google what competitions there are for South African innovations by high school students. SASTA has competitions. There's ESCOM Expo for Young Scientists. It's a competition. So ESCOM has one, SASTA has one. There's one called Got IT that also has got competitions for high school students with new innovations and inventions. So look into those and challenge yourselves. Challenge your teachers to help you prepare to enter these competitions. Find out what categories are there, what the requirements are to compete, and see if in your class or in your friends you can solve some problems for South Africa. Because innovation is about solving problems for where you are, for your own community. And then my last slide here is just to talk sort of after what I've said, what have we learned from Japan? What can we learn then? We can learn that for innovation to take place, it must be a national priority. We can't just talk about innovation and only have one science expo once a year in Sasolburg. It must be a way of life. It must be something that as a country we talk about every day. It must be part of who we are. We always say South Africa is filled with possibilities, right? So let us make those possibilities come to life by living that ethos, by creating new things, by bringing those opportunities and possibilities to life in the things that we create every day, in a way that is locally relevant. So our innovations must solve our own problems in South Africa. Simple things like people take minibus taxis to work and to school every day. 60% of South Africans take minibus taxis, but you often find that there's no shelter where people are standing. People stand in these long queues, and when it rains, they get wet. When it's too hot, they get sweaty. Simple things like that. You can just build shelters so people to stand when they're waiting for a taxi. That is what we need in South Africa, right? We don't need to build a fast-speed train with glass windows, but we do need simple things like shelter and safe places to stand when waiting for a taxi, and many other innovations that we can design for our own environment. Like I said, innovation must be talked about and encouraged at school, at home, in the communities. I think personally every department should have its own science competition and awards. Every department in government, every SETA should have competitions and awards for young people like you to bring innovations. And it should be mainstreamed. Mainstreams means you take something that was already not popular and you force it and encourage people to engage with it until it becomes commonplace. You can use TikTok, you can use influencers, you can use Instagram. That shows our own South African innovations, and we mainstream so it becomes normal. People become celebrities because they've got new applications, not because they are news readers. People must not be celebrities because they're struggling actors. People must be celebrities because they've got new innovations, because they are scientists. They are doing new things. That's the kind of celebrity mind we must have. And also just to say that we do need more of those competitions and awards to help people go to market so we can get more patents, we can commercialize, we can have copyrights to our own South African-based innovations and take to market and take our ideas and sell our products overseas and create new factories and manufacture and create jobs and create new careers and new industries. So I hope that you as young people here will start seeing yourselves as people who can create new things, as innovators, as inventors. And as you leave this room, I want you to think about what will your innovation be? What are you going to innovate? And because it's Women's Month, we have to be locally relevant. In South Africa, it's Women's Month in August. How will your innovation help women? So again, it's about creating new things but making them locally relevant. So it being August, I'll ask you, What will your innovation be, and how will it help women in South Africa? Thank you very much. Take questions. Okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Koyana, for sharing your insights as well as, the research that you've put into this and showing us and putting innovation into perspective for everyone in the room. Did you guys hear? The Takata Luna in Japan and in South Africa are doing things like designing applications. Don't you think that's cool? Now, Doc, you put a question to them, right? And I think we should do a little bit of an exercise. We only have time for 2 of these. Would you mind to indulge me?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
So, we're going to have mics going around in the room. We'll only take 2. So, one from this side of the room and one side from this in the room. I want you to tell us what problem you face in your daily life. Okay? What problem do you think needs to be solved? How? I'm allowing you guys to complain. Don't you can, this is the only time we are accepting complaints. So please put your hand up. I need someone on this side. Okay, we have a hand over there. Do we have a hand on this side? There, okay. Wait for the microphone. Let's settle down. We want to hear the complaint, Pelle. Please stand up and tell us your name. No, it's fine, don't worry. It's okay.
Hello. Good morning. I think it's still morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Rapelang. I'm from Val Christian School. And, well, I'm going to talk about a problem that I face as a girl. I don't feel protected, and I feel like there should be more opportunities for girls to feel protected, especially because we're not built like men, or we don't have as much stamina as they do. So I think that as young people, we should find a way to protect our women because we are the key.
Okay. Hold on. Now, Doc, I want us to quickly brainstorm, and please don't take the mic away from her. How can we solve this problem right now, us as young people?
All right, the question is, how can we have innovations that help to protect women? Simple things like, you know that there are people called izinyoka who are stealing cables and making our streets dark because they take away electricity. If you can find an app that detects or figures out where the izinyoka are going to be going, how they're going to be stealing the cables, things like that will then keep our lights on and women are safer in the streets. That's just one example of a simple thing we can do where we can figure out how to stop people from stealing cables so we have lit streets and safer places for people to walk.
Show of hands, who agrees that they have that same problem? Show of hands. You guys don't experience the same problem that she mentioned? Okay, so that means you're going to build an app. You're going to build an app. You're going to build an app. Oprah Winfrey. You're going to build an app. Do you think that innovation was a good innovation? To you specifically, madam?
To me?
Yes?
Yes.
And you're gonna build on top of that, right?
Yeah.
You will? Okay, thank you. Now let's take our second question. Where was it? Well, our second problem.
For me, the main problem we face in my local community is the lack of water and electricity. It demands every time, you see, yeah. And that causes a lot of problems by
guys, let's allow him. You wouldn't want that reception if you were in the same position. Continue.
That causes a lot of problems for people who live in places where there's not much happening, you see. So yeah.
Lack of resources, etc.,
Yes,
etc.
yes.
Thank you. Let's give him a hand. Hold on to that mic because we are brainstorming innovation. We're not only leaving it to Doc, okay? Doctor?
All right, very quickly. There are ways to get water under the ground. You know that, right? So maybe it means people must figure out how to get water under the ground and make it not so expensive to get it out. There is water in the sea. South Africa is surrounded by oceans all around. Oceans on the left, oceans on the right, oceans on the south. How do we desalinate the water that's so salty and make it so that we remove the salt and use the water and move it to areas which are far from the ocean so it can be used for drinking, for watering, and for what we need it for. So those are two ways we can think about how to maximize our access to the water resource. From under the ground, more innovation in terms of that, drilling and operating and pipes. From the ocean, how do we remove the salt and make the water available for us to drink? You also mentioned about electricity, that there's a challenge with electricity. Do you know that South Africa has got lots of unused mines? People used to dig gold and diamond and copper, and now those mines are hollow. Do you know that we can seal up those mines and store energy in those mines? So that's one way we can innovate and use what we have from our old mines to store energy so that when we are not using energy so much during the evening, we store it there, and then during the day when we need energy, we get it out of those mines and make it available for people. So these are some of the ways in which we can enhance our energy storage using the mines which are unused and empty that we already have tunnels of in the ground, and we've got lots of storage capacity which we're not even tapping into or using to store electricity when we do generate it. So these are opportunities for you to think about. How do we store energy? How do we desalinate our water from the ocean? And it needs you to work on that.
Can we please give it up one more time for Dr. Koyana? Thank you very much.